Alright guys, we're here to look at discrete and continuous functions. Alright, so let's look at our first example. It says graph the function f of x is equal to 1/2 x plus 1 for the given domain. Classify the function as discrete or continuous for the domain and identify the range. Okay, so our domain is x is equal to -2, 0, 2, and 4. Here are discrete points for the domain. Therefore, the graph is an unconnected set of points. So we take the given domain values and substitute them into our function rule to get the range. Now we'll plot the points. This is a discrete graph because it gave me specific points to plot. Okay, here's the second set. The domain is x is greater than or equal to -3. This is going to be continuous because it gave me a continuous set of points for the domain. Therefore, the graph is a connected set of points. This means it includes all numbers that are greater than or equal to -3, even the numbers that include fractions or decimals. So I take the domain and substitute it into my function rule. I will plot the point and create an array with the endpoint at -3, -0.5. I will use my function rule to figure out the direction in which this line will extend. Write and graph the function described. Determine the domain and range. Tell whether the function is discrete or continuous. A student group is selling chocolate bars for $2 each. The function f of x gives the amount of money collected after selling x chocolate bars. So what function rule represents this scenario? If you said f of x is equal to 2x, then you are correct. We want to create a table of values. However, negative values and fractions are not reasonable. Who can explain to me why? Write it down in your notes and we'll discuss it in class. Here are the values that we want to use to create the graph for this scenario. These are the corresponding y values. Let's talk about the domain. The domain for this scenario are whole numbers greater than or equal to 0. The range, positive multiples of 2. When I plot my points, this is the graph that I get. This is a discrete graph. The second scenario says, a low-flow shower head releases 1.8 gallons of water per minute. The function v of x gives the value of water released after x minutes. Well, who can tell me what the function rule is that represents this scenario? Very good. V of x is equal to 1.8x. We want to create a table of values. However, negative values are not reasonable, but fractions are. Who can tell me why? These are the numbers I want to use in my table. I will use my function rule to get the corresponding y values. So let's talk about the domain. What do you think the domain for this scenario would be? If you said x is greater than or equal to 0, then you are correct. Can you explain to me why? Now let's talk about the range. What's the range for this scenario? If you said y is greater than or equal to 0, then you would be correct. Can you explain to me why? When I take my information from the table and plot my points, I create the following graph. This is a continuous graph. Well, that concludes our discrete and continuous functions section. Thanks for watching.